Hello everyone, Santier here, and welcome to my life and channel update video for February of 2024. This month has been a train wreck. So, boy, keeping track of time is a little bit tough sometimes, just in terms of remembering what happened in which month specifically. But towards the beginning of this month, I got sick again. So, I don't know exactly how long ago, 5 or 6 weeks, probably at this point. I'd gotten sick with something and wasn't great, but about 2 weeks after that initial getting sick with something, I was feeling mostly better, like 95% of the way better. You know, just a little bit off. And then I got hit by something. My dad also caught it. He thinks, in his significantly more expert than my opinion, that it was the flu, a strain of the flu. Regardless of what it was, it hit me fairly early on in the month. My local game store that I go to do Magic drafts at runs pre-releases on the Thursday after they have a weekend where they run the pre-releases at kind of a normal weekend Magic set pre-release time, and then they also run a pre-release on the following Thursday. I was looking forward to it, had to miss it because I was sick, and that whole week, I don't know here. What can I discern? It was probably was it the 4th or the 11th that this hit me? Probably, I don't know. It was somewhere in there. But that entire week, I was like doing nothing. I was wiped out. I was tired. I was sleeping a lot, and then when I wasn't sleeping, I was resting a lot. So that was just a week where I didn't do much. Silver lining, I had been praying about needing to understand rest better. Like, how can I actually get effective rest? And that was certainly a lesson in it. I'd also been feeling kind of overwhelmed by scheduled activities. I don't remember if I talked about this in the last video or not. I don't review the previous video before recording the next one. But I had a lot of stuff going on that had really made me feel kind of overwhelmed with just stuff being scheduled every day that I had to be worrying about. And that was taking its toll on me mentally. Just how my brain works. So that week, I just didn't do any of my regularly scheduled stuff. Like, I discovered I was sick at church on Sunday, and didn't do anything that entire week of like all of my scheduled stuff. I basically had to rest. Everybody's like, "You're allowed to rest," and that was great. Except that getting sick also, because of all of that, like resting and all of that malarkey, set my sleep schedule off. So for those who might remember, back in the tail end of December, I spent a bunch of time getting my sleep schedule moved back around. So it's a bit frustrating to have it go off 2 months later. Not even. That was the end of December and then the beginning of February. So like a month and a half later or something. Really quick back to my sleep schedule's a mess and having to get it sorted. Not thrilled about that. So I'm kind of in the process of finishing, or of like actually moving it around, because it got off and then it was drifting, and I don't know. It's been a mess. My sleep schedule is precarious at the best of times, and that was definitely not the best of times. So anyway, I've been moving things around, and yeah. So this month has been kind of a disaster between like being sick and my sleep schedule getting wildly off and whatnot. But there has been some other positive things other than learning about rest. Let's see. How do I order these things? So I've got a couple of writing projects, I guess, that I'm doing, that are probably not going to be articles. One of them is definitely not going to be. There's so I'm ambitiously writing a book. Is the idea. It's a very hypothetical idea in some regards. I mean, I've written some. It's not like I've not written anything in it, but like I've got enough stuff that I'm kind of juggling around in my brain. But it's a book examining the concept of morality, is more or less what it's going to be. I just realized that I have a lot of stuff that I want to say there, to say about morality. And it seemed like a book was a good way of organizing my thoughts and putting it together. It's going to be interesting because while I will be approaching things from a Christian, heavy air quotes, perspective, in the sense of my like theological basing that I'm going to, because morality inherently has connection to religion. A lot of religions talk about morals and ethics and things like that. So like that's the sort of framework that I operate under. But there's an absolutely enormous asterisk there of what is like that framework look like for me, because morality is subjective, and there's an important relationship between morality and authority that makes somebody's morality matter to anybody but them. I'll be going into this. So there's a lot of this is going to be very philosophical in some regards, examination of morality. Anyway, I've started working on that, but also one of the things that I found during that resting period is I like to tell myself stories as I rest, and that process is like maybe this is something I can translate into writing some sort of fiction thing. So I've started that too. Just doing some baseline world building and then going. I will note for those who are curious on my Patreon, I've tried several different things for different tiers that I've had at different times. There will be some random coughing that I will not be editing out because that is not how I roll. And anyway, on my Patreon, I've tried different things at various different times. You can find the relics of it littered about the posts. But one of the things that I tried was writing short fiction stories, which worked pretty well, except I had a really hard time keeping up the cadence. And this is a consistent problem that I've had with a lot of different things that I've tried. The Geekdom of God videos that I did, is that like 6 years ago maybe now? 5-6 years ago? Wow. Anyway, I tried doing those one a week, and I got through maybe like a year. Just about. There's around 50 of them. And at that point, I was like, I cannot keep up with a weekly cadence. It's just not how my brain works. Again, I have a really hard time with schedules. Just in general, it's just brain quirks. So I have to figure out how to work around the brain quirks, because it's not like I can yank them out of my head. And anyway, so I had a period of time where I did write some short stories. So talking is probably going to trigger my coughing. So if you're curious about seeing what some of that's like, you can go find those on my Patreon. I think they're probably paywalled, but it's probably just minimum dollar, just a minimum dollar amount. So anyway, enough of that. I have worked more on my game as well. I have been figuring out what things I need to figure out. It's that phrasing made me think of an announcement that we're going to make an announcement, but it's like I have to figure out what things I need to figure out in order to be able to have some sort of baseline thing I can actually friggin' play, because I am eager to get into actually friggin' playing something. And I think I'm getting close on that. So just for a little bit of structural detail, the build system for the game is characters will have a character class. There's two main characters that will be able to change their character class. It's just an equipable item. And then there's going to be side characters that won't be able to change their equipable class, or maybe have like 2 that they can use or something if I'm feeling really spicy on one of them. But the each equipable class has some number of attribute lines it can use, and these attribute lines are skills. So it's like, oh, you can equip skills from these attribute lines. It's a little bit like if Pokemon skills, if Pokemon move sets or learn sets or however you want to describe them, came with like some sort of pre-described thing based upon something. So like maybe there's a certain type, whatever. The point stands that the ability to equip skills is linked to like skills are categorized into attributes, and then classes have attributes that they can use. It's just the way the skills are organized. So I wanted to have icons for each attribute. Some of them will probably need to be modified, but I've made them at this point. So I have that as something I can be inserting into that for like, it's really important just for like feel. It's important to me to minimize how much work I have to update because that's tedious as all get out. So even if I have to update the icons, at least I have something in the spot on the icon atlas. So if I need to update it, at least then it'll update everywhere else instead of like having to go back through everything and add that icon in later. It's also significantly better playtesting experience to have some sort of icon there than not. It really elevates the play experience, makes it feel a lot better. And that's important for getting a good sense of how things work. And it'll also just make it a lot easier to parse what I'm looking at. So anyway, I grabbed a bunch of character class icons as well, but I'm taking those from a previous abandoned project. So I'm recycling a lot as stuff from previous projects to the extent that I am able, which is great. So I've got that figured out, and I'm like, right now I'm like, okay, I need to figure out this is kind of an important thing, what sort of meaning is attached to stat values. So what's weak, what's strong, what's high, what's low, depending upon how things are being processed. Excuse me. So that's something that I am working my way through, trying to figure out. So stuff is proceeding on that. Maybe a little bit more slowly than I'd like, but it's proceeding on that. One of the other big things that I've been trying to do is to figure out how to moderate my YouTube watching. This has been a challenge. So the way things are for me, it's much easier for me to go cold turkey and just like cut something out entirely than to dial something back. So for example, when I'm like, Twitter is not good for me, I just stopped using it. Because I'm like, I shouldn't be going on here. It's not great for me. And so I just stopped going on there. And now at this point, every now and then I'll poke my nose in, look at a few things and be like, yeah, no, this place is terrible. And then poke my nose back out. The reason why Twitter or X or whatever is getting called this month is terrible for me is the nature of the platform. I don't think it's inherent to the structure, but the way the platform works in terms of what people think of the sort of thing that you put on there is inherently negative. So even if it's something I agree with, it's a negative thing. So, for example, there's a number of, and I could try to address this by changing who I'm following, but it's still really hard to kind of get away from it because, like, even if I agree with them, so like, there's a bunch of pastors and stuff that I follow that are how do I describe? Evangelical is sort of a label that you hear a lot. But basically people who are trying to fight against Christian nationalism. And their inherent is the problem. Because Twitter has kind of become this weird blend of self-promotion and cause promotion or advocacy, or to some extent, you get virtue signaling mixed up with that, where I would describe virtue signaling as preaching to the choir. Basically, you're trying to demonstrate to your side that you are a good boy or girl or whatever you may be, and that your side should like you and give you accolades and attention, and get bot views or whatever. So, yeah. Anyway, even if I'm agreeing with the positions that people are taking, because of the nature of how the advocacy works, of like, let's constantly be pointing out everything that's wrong and how we want things to change. There's like the Vagina Museum is great. I have liked a lot of the things that they've put out there on social media, but there's also a lot of look at all of this stigma that we have to fight against, and it's like, man, this sucks that they have to fight against this. I really wish they didn't. Or Victoria Bateman, who's an economist. I think she's a doctor. I don't know. It doesn't immediately say that on her book that I got, Naked Feminism: How to Break the Cult of Female Modesty. Anyway, it's a book that I'm slowly working my way through, but it's the sort of thing where it's like I'm learning about stuff that is making me upset, basically, of like, why is the world working this way? I wish the world didn't work this way. It shouldn't work this way. Why is it working this way? And it makes me upset with the way that women's sexuality has been oppressed. But that's not the point of what I'm saying right now. What I'm saying is, even the stuff that I'm for, it's about how like things aren't where we want them to be, and that's upsetting. So anyway, that was a long tangent to ramble about why Twitter is a place that is generally not great for me to be. So let's talk about something else entirely. YouTube again. So moderating my use of YouTube has been really challenging, because I don't want to just stop, right? There are things that I really like and enjoy on YouTube that I want to watch some amount of. Not as much of an amount that as I have been watching, but some amount. And that's the really tricky thing, is dialing back is a much greater challenge, and a lot of it comes down to having to figure out, why am I watching YouTube, and how do I get myself to stop watching it when I'm not actually wanting to? So there's a couple of things that are going on here. And some of it is I need to not turn YouTube tabs into a task list, which my brain definitely does, and I am making strides on that. I also need to honestly ask myself, am I getting value from watching this video, or am I just watching it to completion because of a completionist tendency that I have? And if the answer is because of completionist tendency, I should stop watching the video. So I've been getting more aggressive about closing videos or like, I don't need to watch everything from a content creator that I like. I can be more selective. Things like that are helpful, but it's something that I need to work through. Probably the biggest challenge here is I like to watch Playframe while eating, like, breakfast, for example, while eating meals. And so I need to like stop the video when I finish eating and save the rest of it for the next meal, sort of thing. Like, I need to be more intentional about that, right? Because that will reduce the overall amount of time that I'm spending watching YouTube. But you can't just decrease something without replacing it with something. And it's like, okay, how do I fill that in? So there's a lot of different like mental brain things. Like, I feel like I have trained my brain, YouTube probably is very happy about this, to see sitting at my computer as what I do here is watch YouTube. And it's like, this is not great. Like, I've been thinking about this, and I'm like, I feel like if I had a way of having a separate device that's like, this is the YouTube watching device, that would help? Probably. It's a bit of an expensive experiment to run, but I feel like it might be able to help. But the thing that I really fundamentally need to do is retrain my brain to not see sitting at my computer as automatic. The thing I do when I'm in this spot, this position, this space is watch YouTube. Like, I just need to get my brain away from that thinking. It's not helpful. It's not good. I shouldn't do it, and I need to retrain my brain in that regard. And I feel like I'm making bits of progress in that. But it's a lot of like trying to understand what drives my behavior, and there's a lot of like working with myself sort of stuff that can be quite challenging. So anyway, all of that to say, thank you for watching this on YouTube. But hopefully you are also having healthy YouTube habits that you are happy about. And I'm certainly trying to get there. So things that I want to do instead of watching YouTube include like working on my projects, but it's also playing more video games, because I've been bad at doing that, to the extent like I want to be spending more time playing video games than I am, and less time watching YouTube. So that's kind of where you see some of that trade-off. But YouTube is very easy and very passive, whereas like going through booting up a game and having to play it, I say. But playing it is a more active thing, and that requires a greater initial expenditure of, I don't know, executive function energy, whatever it is, even if I find playing the video game significantly more fulfilling and rewarding than watching something on YouTube. So anyway, I'm kind of trying to make those changes, and I feel like I'm seeing some stuff right now. It's been a whole process. But that's enough rambling about that. Although, speaking of video games, I have been continuing to play Guild Wars 2, and I am looking forward to, probably in a few hours from the time that I'm recording this, but maybe by the time this is up, I don't know exactly when that's going to be. Probably not by the time this is up, but I'm looking forward to the next drop for the Secrets of the Obscure expansion stuff. Learning about how to get legendary relics. I really want legendary... like, relics are... really a pain in the butt to deal with, and in terms of like acquiring and like changing things around for different builds and taking up inventory space with them. So being able to free myself up from all of that by having legendary relics, as far as I understand it, being able to like freely change them and have them for all of your characters would be quality of life through the roof. I think it's very interesting that legendaries in Guild Wars 2 are apparently just massive quality of life. That is what you're grinding for. You're not grinding for superior stats. You're grinding for quality of life. And that is an interesting choice. So anyway, I've been working on legendary trinkets some as well. But those collections are a lot. Anyway, so I'm looking forward to that. The Elden Ring trailer obviously also dropped recently at the time of recording for the DLC. Should clarify, it is not a trailer for Elden Ring. It is a trailer for the Elden Ring DLC coming out in June. I'm very, very hyped and have to rein that in a little bit because June is several months away, and there are many other things happening between now and then. But I am very, very, very excited for that. Honestly, I was expecting the DLC to come out earlier. If you'd asked me back in January, I would have thought the DLC was coming out this month in February here, but it is not. It's clearly going to be hefty because they've spent something like 2 years working on it, I am assuming. Like, I don't know quite when they started working on it, but they told us February of last year, about a year ago, actually, at the time this video is coming out, on the 28th of February 2023, that they were working on it, and they had a name for it already, Shadow of the Erdtree. So my guess is fairly shortly after, like, shipping the base Elden Ring, they started working on it. A 2-year dev cycle is like enough time for a game. So, like, consider Majora's Mask had a year-long dev cycle, right? So I'm anticipating that this DLC is going to be pretty hefty, especially given the $40 price point, $40 USD price point. So I'm looking forward to exploring that. Sounds like it's going to be really neat. Still no news of Silksong. I happened to notice that the trailer that we've gotten for it was 5 years ago. So that one's taking its sweet time coming out, but I'm sure everybody is very much so looking forward to getting any information about that, just like everybody's looking forward to getting any information about the Elden Ring DLC, except one of those happens sooner than the other. What other things do I want to mention about February? In terms of Magic, I've been able to go to a couple of drafts from Murders at Karlov Manor, and I've been really enjoying that set. I like it a lot. It does interesting things because of having Disguise, which is a morph variant, to your 3-drop slot, and that in particular I find quite intriguing. I like having a decent number of multicolored cards as well, and as far as I'm concerned, Thunder Junction can take its sweet time. I think that's the next set. Can take its sweet time getting here, so I can spend more time drafting Murders at Karlov Manor. Yeah, I feel like that's a lot of mostly what's going around in my brain. Just trying to find points of growth and identify what am I doing, what do I want to be doing, and how do I make it so that way what I'm doing is what I want to be doing, which can be surprisingly tricky. I guess if there's any questions, you can always drop them in the comments below. And I will wrap up here. So thank you all very much for watching. Oh, I just remembered. Streams. I was sick. My sleep schedule's been wonky. That's why I haven't really streamed this month. I keep wanting to do a stream, and maybe I will do one in the next couple of days. That is not a promise. You can check the channel to see if a VOD's gone up if you're watching this far enough in the future. But I am wanting to stream again, but I've just been... everything's been wonky and off, and it's made it... Sleep has not necessarily been great, and also there's lots of reasons. Lots of internal reasons why I've not actually streamed despite wanting to stream at some point here this month. Maybe I streamed earlier in the month. I don't remember. That was so long ago. Anyway, that's what's going on with streams. I did want to mention that. I've had the intention to stream, but not really felt like I've had a good opportunity to stream because of all the health wonkiness. Just how it goes. So yes, that. All right. Now I'm wrapping up. Thank you for watching. Stay healthy. Getting sick is not great. Maybe there's some plus sides you can find like I was able to, but it ain't great. Yeah, thank you for watching. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for spending a little bit of time with me. And hopefully this is a year where I get some stuff done. I'd like that. I say that as if I don't get stuff done. I'm getting this done. I get stuff done. See, this is one of the problems. This is one of the brain bugs, right? Is I focus on the things that aren't where I want them to be and ignore the things that are where I want them to be. I focus on the stuff that I don't have instead of the stuff I do have. And I need to appreciate the stuff I do have more and pay attention to it and notice it exists. Instead of just focusing on, but I want that and that and that, and I don't have those. And brain bugs, yo. Maybe they're demons. I think they're probably demons. Well, that's my hot take for the video. All right. Take care and goodbye.